Hi everyone, and we're now going into game 3, right? And white leads 5-0 to 7, so he's 2 away, and black is 7 away. And so when you're 2 away, uh, you do have to be careful about using the cube, right? Ideally, you're aiming for an undoubled gammon to finish off the match, and so even in strong positions, if there's a chance of a gammon, you don't want to send the cube over. You actually want to try to gammon your opponent without the cube. Okay, and that will be enough to finish the match. And of course, at 2 away, 7 away, black can take a cube quite easily. His take point, as we say, is quite low. And so that's another reason you have to be careful of using the cube. But you can use it, especially if you're down to a pure race and you have a decent lead. Okay, you can use the cube then. But of course, black is going to immediately send it back, right? So that's always the problem, is if you use the cube, you're going to be playing for 4 points. And then who knows what'll happen, right? So you want to be reasonably confident. So anyways, let's see how white does here. Is white able to finish off black with a gammon here, or is white able to win 1 point and get to Crawford, or is black going to start turning the match around in this game? So let's watch and enjoy and learn. Okay, thanks. So here we go with game 3. Black rolls a 5-4 and correctly brings 2 down. When you're behind in the score, you want to be more aggressive, so this is the more aggressive move. White hits, and black comes in nicely with a double 4 and starts building the home board. White enters and jumps out. And so this is already quite interesting. When you're behind in the score, as black is here by quite a bit, you have to really consider an early double. You've got to try to make up the deficit as fast as you can. And even though, there's 3 black checkers back, this looks like a good opportunity, right? And if you look at the cube here, it's very close according to XG here, and it's basically worth sending the cube over. White has a blot, white has no structure, black has some blitzing possibilities, and so it really was worth considering a cube here. And as you can see by the actual roll, black really wished he had sent the cube over before rolling this double 5. So yeah, you have to make hay while the sun shines, right? This is a nice expression for backgammon, especially. Okay, when you get decent positions, you got to take full advantage of them by using that cube, especially when you're behind. One of the things I remember Mochi saying, right? Mochi being one of the top players in the world, he said, "It's okay to lose a game, but it's not okay to lose your market." And I try to remember that, especially when I'm behind in a match by quite a bit, especially. Really look to use that cube early. So anyways, black rolls a wonderful double 5 with hitting in the outfield and pointing on white, and the blitz is on. So basically now black's just going to try to play for an undoubled gammon, right? Hey, white is able to bring one in, but again, it's too good for black to double this. White will drop it in a heartbeat. So black correctly plays on, and he makes his 5 point. He's still got quite a strong position here. White dances, and black correctly continues the blitz. Notice that splitting the back checkers is also a possibility here. But in general, you want to focus on your home board during a blitz play. I suppose this just gives black a little more flexibility, but it's not really essential. This is the best move, especially since this checker, right, keeps an eye on the in case white enters on the 3 point there. And whoa, miracle roll from the bar. White is able to anchor and unstack the 6 point and make a strong point in his own home board. So all of a sudden, it's not so clear, right? Yes, black has the advantage, but white is going to be in this game for quite a while now, thanks to that anchor. And notice black's back checkers, right? They've got a long way to go in this game now. Okay. Black enters, and he's happy to make that 8 point and block white a little. So this is an uncomfortable move, right? And when you get an uncomfortable move, you have to sort of think, okay, what can I do to improve my position, even though this is not a very good move? And it's almost like you have to play the role of the optimist, right? You got to say, okay, if I'm not hit, where would I like to be? And in this case, basically, it would be nice to make the bar point. Okay. Notice that, some people might think, well, it would be nice to make the 5 point. But the problem, of course, is that there's somewhat less flexibility with this roll, right? Only 3s make the 5 point. And you basically have a couple of points that are a bit stacked. So it's not so hopeful. And basically, the bar point is a nice blocking point if black is unable to hit it. Okay. So should black double this? That's an interesting question, right? Now that black has a lot of shots at this extra blot, what do you think? Is it a double? Let's have a look. And it is close. It is close. Okay. XG basically says no, don't double it at this point. If you don't hit these checkers, back checkers could get stuck. Okay. And black doesn't have a lot of flexibility if he can't move those back checkers, right? And the other consideration is even if black hits, white does have that anchor, right? And there are 2 points open in his home board. So white is the favorite to enter, and there's still possibilities where white can block. So yeah, it's a reasonable double from here as well, especially because of the score, right? Notice the winning chances, okay, are not that high usually for a double, okay? But the gammon chances are decent, okay? And yeah, basically it's worth considering again because of the score and the need for black to get back into the game. But as you can see, black is unable to hit. It's slightly better to make the anchor here. it's kind of understandable, and it's not a big mistake, as you can see, to just increase your flexibility. But white does have some counter-attacking potential here, so it might be nice just to make the anchor and see what white can do in the next couple rolls. Okay, and here we have an interesting mistake by white, and I guess we're going to use our old fear factor here. Okay, and just type this here, fear factor. Okay, because the correct move is to slot to hit loose on the 5 point. Okay, it does look pretty scary, right? With lots of return shots from the bar. But basically the idea is you've got the anchor to fall back on if you do get hit. You do really want to make that 5 point if possible, and try to block black's back checkers. Things could go very badly if black doesn't hit back from the bar. Things could go very badly for black. And so basically white wants to fight here. Okay, and keep in mind that there are actually some gammon chances here for white if black doesn't perform with the dice. Okay, and remember from the introduction that white would love an undoubled gammon, right? And so this gives white the best chance to achieve that. And yes, of course, there are risks and all, but thanks to the anchor, thanks to that miracle double 2, white can afford to take some risks. Okay, and so yeah, you can kind of understand why white was afraid to play this move, but in fact, all things considered, it is the right approach, yeah, by a big margin. So. Okay, so yeah, try to avoid the fear, especially when you've got an anchor, right, to fall back on. The gammon chances are actually pretty close to equal on both sides after this move, which is interesting, yeah. Okay, so white doesn't hit. Okay, white just makes the bar point. And black jumps out. XG does prefer just to increase the flexibility of black's checkers in terms of playing sixes and things like that, to advance the checker from the 23 to the 22 point. Okay, there's a slight preference for that, but one could kind of understand that safetying the checker is also a decent option. And white makes the 5 point in any case. Wow, really nice. Okay, and so all of a sudden, white is looking quite good, right? And basically, this is kind of like a post-blitz position, right? Black's blitz has run out of steam. Black has buried some checkers, right? And so the black's flexibility is kind of minimized, and these checkers really have to somehow get moving, and it's tough. It's tough. So white is looking quite good, but it's far from guaranteed at this point. Still lots of play. Okay, black has to step up, of course, with one of the back checkers. Not much in terms of options here. Okay. And white hits in the outfield. What a great roll. This whole match so far, white has been pretty fortunate in his rolls, and this is a good one. And actually, if black is unable to enter here, then there are some serious gammon chances in the air. But black is able to enter and hit back. White enters and jumps out, right? There's no real other option here. Black's checkers are behind a 5'. So white, even if white gets hit, that's fine. Use a 6 to hit instead of jumping out, that kind of thing. Okay. And let's see whether black can put it together enough rolls to get 3 checkers out from behind a 5', especially with these checkers needing to get a 1 and then jump out. It's a tall order. And black misses. Okay, white is looking really good at this point, jumping out like that. And in fact, you can see from the evaluation that white is actually already going into the too good territory, right? Which is great. White would love a chance to pull off a gammon in this position. But black is fortunate to be able to roll that 1 and secure the anchor at the edge of the prime. So that's a key kind of development for black. Now, this is interesting because generally speaking, right, when you're 2 away as the leader, especially with a big lead in the score, you're kind of hesitant to use the cube here. But white's position is just so strong, and black's position, it's going to be hard for black to put together a decent home board. It's likely to crunch, yeah. And it's also very possible that black will have to at some point run off this anchor, right? If black doesn't get the 1 to put the spare checker up here, then white has a lot of work to do to get around, but it's fairly unopposed in the outfield here. And so by the time black brings these checkers in, then it is possible that one of these checkers is going, he's going to have to break the anchor, and that's really good for the gammon chances. So on the whole, white probably was thinking, let's play on and their gammon chances, but actually XG says, just cash the game here. But it's close, isn't it? Yeah, very close. So it's reasonable for white to play on here and see what happens, but it is interesting that this is actually a pass for black. Okay, it's just this is too strong and this is rather weak. Okay, that's a key consideration. Okay, so white rolls a 4-3 and just brings a checker, spare checker into his board. Okay. There's no need to clear this point quite yet. For example, if black rolls a 6-5, white would love the chance to, or even a 6-4, 6-3, 5-3, white would love the chance to perhaps force black to either like mess up his board or leave another shot and try to send another checker behind the 5'. So there's no need to hurry and break this point. And black rolls a 6-5, and you can see that black knows he has to run. Okay, it's just there's no point in hanging back at this point, but it's quite unfortunate for black. He's not happy with that roll. It is better to just play a 6 and hope for the best, you know, slot your 3-point and leave a checker here, because if white misses, maybe you can jump out, right, with another 6 and make that point and establish that presence in the outfield. But yeah, it's not a big mistake just to keep on running all the way. And white hits. And again, the gammon is very much up in the air now. In the air, I should say. But black is able to re-anchor, which, you know, is actually not a bad sequence for him, right? He's allowed white to move forward, and he hasn't crunched his home board or anything like that. So in terms of timing, this is a nice exchange, but it was risky, of course. Black was definitely holding his breath with these couple of moves. Okay, and white correctly makes the 6 prime. We talked about this earlier, right? About whether to make a 6 prime or not in a previous game. And in this case, it is important, okay? Because remember before, there wasn't much possibility of black crunching his home board. There wasn't such urgency to make the 6 prime. But here, it does take away black 6s, so he's going to have to play them into his home board. So that's what white wants. So it's definitely worthwhile to make that prime. It is an interesting alternative, right? Looking at this one and leaving black 6s. You know, in terms of allowing him the possibility of jumping out, right? And of course, when we talked about this in the in that previous game, when you make the 6 prime and you're 6 away from your opponent's anchor, it can sometimes be uncomfortable to clear that point. So maybe that's one of the ideas behind this as well. But it's still best to make the 6 point here and really push black to crunch his home board. Okay, black gets the 1 he wants, okay. And yeah, white is just bringing his checkers around. Okay, black makes an extra home board point, which is nice. And yeah, here, just keep in mind that in this kind of position, it is common to just, you know, play checkers behind the anchor. The idea is that basically black needs to run from that anchor. And so white wants to, if possible, kind of bring some checkers behind. Basically, you want to get some kind of running advantage or bear off advantage before black can run. Because once black runs, there's a race, but you know, it's possible he might roll decently double 6s or double 5s as you start clearing away your prime. And if you don't have checkers behind that, then you tend to get a very kind of front-loaded position for your bear off, which you know is there's no wastage, but you do want to be able to take checkers off earlier rather than later. So this is one of the strategies against an anchor like this, is to, you know, throw some checkers behind there. And white doesn't have to worry too much about flexibility. And again, it's quite likely that black's home board is going to crunch. So. But double 1 certainly helps black here. And white comes in. And now it's time to start dismantling the 6 prime. And XG does prefer 8782. Okay, possibly just because of you know, putting an extra checker, putting a checker on the 2 point, and also perhaps avoiding the gap on the 7 point. But there's not a big difference. Okay, black is able to maintain a 5-point home board so far. And we're back in doubling territory here, okay? And it is a pass again. You know, if you're going to double this kind of position as white, you really want to be sure that it's a pass, right? You don't want to double black and then allow him to immediately redouble and play on with some decent chances of winning. Okay. And here black has, as you can see, just about a 15% chance of winning. And it's a big pass, as you can see. Okay, it would be a huge error to take this. Just black is just you know, again, it's likely that his home board might crunch, and he's far behind in the race. And all in all, it's not an optimal position. White has some flexibility as well. It's unlikely he's going to leave a shot. So it's a huge pass here, and white misses the cube. Probably again, it's related to this mindset. When you're 2 away, you don't often turn the cube when there's still contact, but in this particular position, it does look like black would have to pass, and instead of just playing on in desperation. Okay, so white is able to clear one of the points, okay, with 6-3. And black is fine. Black is unable to run one of the back checkers, but again, he's happy to just maintain that 5-point home board. And white is able to clear. So it's looking very good. And again, we're back into undoubled gammon territory. Black has, you know, he's got a little work to do. It's not huge in terms of gammon chances, but there are some there. So white should definitely play on at this point with very little risk, right? Okay, let's see if black can run off the gammon here. Right, okay, so white is just basically taking as many checkers as he can off. Okay, this is actually interesting. XG prefers some flexibility, I guess. Okay, whereas white just rips one off. Notice again this idea of you know, what happens with how do double threes play, for example, here? Not very nicely, right? But let's see, with here, I guess, yeah, double threes are kind of messy anyways, but perhaps not quite so bad, right? But yeah, I suppose it's just this move just leaves that stack on the 5-point, right? And trying to avoid this idea of just having this one stack is probably the theme behind that. But again, there's not a big difference. Yeah? Okay. And yeah, this is unfortunate for black. He's got to stay back. Now white does, you know, clear the 6-point, of course. Black runs. And here black has an opportunity, right, to increase the gammon chances a little. So he hits. Black comes in immediately. And here we have another hitting number, okay? And, you know, if black dances, there could be problems. Of course, white does need maybe another double to pull off a gammon, but black comes in. So that makes it quite unlikely, right? Okay, we take some checkers off, black runs, takes, and then that's enough. And here, white doesn't take any chances, right? And immediately doubles, unlike black in the previous game, right? Where he forgot for one move to double and then things quickly turned around. Would be unlikely here, of course, but in any case, white immediately doubles black out. Okay, so well played game by both players here. And so we go to Crawford, and white has been quite fortunate in terms of some of the rolls and some of the luck. If you can see the luck rating here. Okay, definitely white's got an advantage in terms of luck. But as you can imagine, I'm showing you this match because things are about to turn around for black. And it's going to be quite interesting to see how black survives by the skin of his teeth in some cases. And we're going to get a very exciting comeback, as you might have guessed. Okay, so I hope to see you for the next game, game 4. Yeah. And I hope you enjoyed that. And let me know what you think if you got any comments, yeah, or questions. Thanks very much.